Hey everyone, Nick Shaheen here, looking at Novavax. NVAX is the ticker. This is going to probably upset some people because it's an emotional ticker. It's an emotional subject. There's a lot of fear around COVID, and justifiably, the whole world is suffering from it. It itself doesn't kill a lot of people, but when you combine it with other situations, which everybody has, that's what makes it dangerous. So, having said that, there's definitely the need for the vaccine. I'm circling around to make the argument for Novavax. So, let me start by saying I went long Novavax years ago when it was like 9 and somebody told me it was going to 16 or 17. I got in and I got out at like 13. And then it collapsed down to 80 cents or a dollar. I can't remember. At which point, because they completely failed back then, not COVID, something else. I'm giving you a background. And then, by the way, I have no trade right now, so it's a completely unbiased opinion. And then when it fell to like 80 cents, I bought the $1 or $1.20 leap call at the time. It was like, let's say June or April. We can look it up. And then I bought for the next January. And so I had months and months for it to recover. And then it popped on whatever reason. I simply bought it as a lottery ticket, and I had no idea what the outlook was. So I am not an anti-Novavax. That's the point of my story. I was long when it collapsed. I stepped up and bought it, made some money, and I got out. And I haven't traded it until this recent COVID thing. I shorted it a little bit and won, shorted a little bit, and it broke even. So I just stepped away from it. All right, so having said that, here we are. What to do now? There's a lot of information on this chart, but first we have to learn a little bit about the history. It's $85 or $86. Today is Friday the 20th. It was Triple Witching Day. Interesting close. The markets are bullish, even though we had a bad day. The markets, the VIX was down, the VXX was down. The markets were somewhat down. I think one of them, the small caps, were flattish. So the bulls are in charge. We are near all-time high. We just set new highs on the Pfizer headlines, which is related to this one. So the background story is that these guys, I don't believe, have ever had a vaccine go to market. And this is a company that has vaccine in its name. And they did a reverse split last year, somewhere around May, 20-1. So if you want to get a real feel of how cheap or expensive this, or how impressive the stock is, it's really like $4, because you have to divide current price by 20 to get a feel as to what it was not too long ago. On top of that, look at the rally it had. So if somebody didn't book up here, I question their thesis. It's like, what were they thinking? First of all, when you bring a vaccine that the whole world desperately needs, they're not going to let you profit from it. No way on earth. You're going to get milked to deliver it maybe at break even, which means you're losing money because you spent all that effort trying to bring it to fruition. And so it's not like a pot of gold. But it's good that they would have something on the market, and the profits will come later from the maintaining, unless it gets eradicated. So here's the deal. Let's look at the chart and judge it purely based on chart. So I probably already upset a lot of people by saying what I said, but it's the honest truth. Pfizer, first of all, I think they already have money from the government. You can do your homework and find that out. So the government probably kind of owns it in their minds, so they're not going to let them get away with pricing it exorbitantly high. And if they did, there's like 10 other companies bringing vaccines. We just had the Pfizer pop. That was on the 9th, right here. So Novavax popped a little bit, and then they figured out, wait a minute, that's bad news for us. They went back and did what? They tested a floor. Good news is they held the floor and came back to the pop. Right? That's twice. 3 times. And was the battle for this whole leg. That's the good news. But that's also the bad news, because now the bears have a line in the sand that they can attack. Notice lower highs attacking a floorboard. When the floorboard gives way, if it gives way, whoop, it goes down. How far down? Technically, I could argue for, I won't say it. Let's just say below 50. I am not calling for that to happen. I'm telling you that the scenario is available. Neckline. You've heard it called different things. On the way up, it's called an inverse head and shoulders or a cup and handle. On the way down, it's called an inverse cup and handle. To me, it doesn't matter what it's called. They're both the same thing. Neckline, 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 attack, attack, attack. You chip away at the floor gives way. Whoop, they overshoot. How far? You like this? Whoop. Yeah. The technicians, I'm not a technician, but I do know how to read charts really well. And let's just say this is an inverse cup and handle, loosely interpreted. I know it's not perfect, but it's loosely interpreted. I'm not going to give it credit for this. That's good for the bulls, by the way, because if I give it credit for this, it's going to zero. So this is the size of a drop that it should happen, the size of this. So that's why I didn't want to say it. So it goes back to its old self. So basically the decision, will it make it or will it fail, will probably bring this scenario. Not up to me to decide, it's up to the market to decide. So what other thing is clear? That the pops are being sold, the bulls are not in charge. The sellers are in charge, and it's probably machines. 90% of all trading is done by, what do you call them? Machine. It's code, but they love to call it algos. Oh, it's algos. Of course it's algos. Everything is algos. Tell me when it's a human. When a human goes in and says, stop the algo. Let's do this because I see something that the machines don't. Then tell me about it. But the rest of it is all algos. So the algorithms, the code is telling the machines to sell it every time it hits X level. And I'm going to give you those levels right now. If you lose the last bounce level, 77, it can the trouble could start at 85, then could accelerate at 78, 79. 77 is the last line in the sand. Maybe you can argue for 71, maybe. Okay, so if you lose 77, in fact, I'm going to put an alarm to myself right here. I'm going to put rot-roll, or uh-oh. Let's not be joking about it. Serious money. Now, what about upside potential? There's going to be resistance, but the range is so tight right now, something is going to give. Either pop or drop. It's going to come soon enough. I don't know, a few days, maybe a week and a half. So they're going to find resistance into 95, 96, 97, and 98. Everything here is resistance. If they get help from the whole market, let's say we have a market rally next week, great. As soon as they beat 102, 103, then they could probably invite more buyers, because that's the last fail. It's a very pointy fail in time. So if I'm long, this is where I start getting happy. If I took a starter position, this is probably where I add, because now they have momentum to try to tackle the 111, 112 resistance and definitely the 120. So these are the lines that matter. There's one candle that just popped into my head, right here, this level right here, 104, market. That's going to be important. So do I have a line there? I should. So these are my lines on the stock. And I spoke to them blindly, and I promise you I did not practice that. Somebody in the chat room just asked me about it, and these are my thoughts that pop just without lines. And I just showed you my lines. So there was a squeeze right here, and look at what happened, right? And you can literally see where the levels were. There's a big gap right here, but they never looked at it. It's not a reason for me to expect that they're going to fill it. I expected them to do this red line here, a while back in October, and indeed it happened, and then some. So, unbiased opinion, I promise. I've written about it and talked about it more on the positive side than the negative side. And just to put things into perspective, so you know something, there's something called these lines here. You're probably wondering what these are. These are volume bars. So to give you perspective as to what happened, where, and when. So these are volume bars down here, right? These are same volume bars. So these don't tell me a lot. They tell me that a lot of volume was here, less volume was here, less volume was here. So it tells me that dwindling volume, dwindling interest. But the more important information is when they happened. Not when they happened, where they happened. So this is when they happened, and this is where they happened. So it tells me that this line right here, that orange line, 1530, by far was the busiest lines of buyers and sellers. So this is where most of the volume for a whole year happened. The second most volume is below it by a mile. The closest thing is this zone right here, and it's less than half. Look right here, you can see. So it needs a lot of time up here to consolidate, so this volume area just moves up. In layman's term, there's not enough action up here to justify it hanging out here if without a headline. So in my opinion, I don't want to cuss, but something's going to happen soon, either pop or drop. Hopefully it's pop, because we need the vaccines. The more companies on the market, the better the vaccine collection, the more of them is available. Like if I can't get the Pfizer one, I'll settle for this one, or vice versa. Everybody has their favorite. Listen to Jim Cramer. He probably can tell you, apparently he's a virologist too. We didn't know that. He was a homeless, murder investigator or reporter. Is there anything he hasn't done? I'd like to know. So he's also a virologist. Oh, restaurateur. At least he owns one there. So let's put it into pictures. So this was where the action is going to start. Usually, they don't last like this long. A lot of energy, and then something triggers something. There's enough people that like to chase trend line breakouts. I like level breakouts. So what's a trend line breakout? All right. Now we're popping into a mini lesson. This is mnemonics. There's no... I learned this on my own. Trust me. I'm not from Wall Street. So here we go. Higher lows, lower highs. The action was here and now into a point. A lot of people like to chase trend lines. This is a trend line. It's broken. They go, let's go. I prefer chasing levels. So because a lot of these are fake outs. So I'm giving up this much, but that's okay. I'll catch this much. So that's my opinion. Same on the upside. People, let's go. I'd rather chase a breakout of a level. So I'll miss out that much, but I'll catch this much. I'm okay with that. Enough of people chase the trend lines, and I think this is how it develops. But I can tell you they're going to face a lot of resistance here. And the better one is right there, and then a lot of resistance there, but it's doable. All you need is momentum. And you can probably get a headline like Pfizer and go boom, through the roof. Oh, perfect. So let's see what happened to Pfizer. Somebody asked me today, how come it fell? It fell. I mean, it had a good headline and the vaccine, and they started talking fundamentals. I was like, whoa. That's above my pay grade. I don't know what's going on with their vaccine. I can tell you exactly why they fell. It was an accident scene from August last year. Everybody trapped up there said, thank you, Lord, I'm out. I would have gotten out. If I was part of the people that got up here and I took a haircut from 40 to 27, and now suddenly I'm like within pennies of it, thank you. Especially if they doubled down. If they doubled down, they're out all around. So let's see if we can get more information about the weeklies from Pfizer. I bet you this level has been in contention for longer than this. Oh, okay. So monthly. All right, so this is Pfizer since the 90s. Let's look at the last pop. This is it right here. Look at this. No joke. Hold on. This right here was the high of the Pfizer pop on the news, right? We thought it was going to the moon. Look at this. What was that? 1999? And here, that's in the early 99, maybe in the late. And here, so this level has been hotly contested for decades. There's no slicing through it. Never. It's going to have to work its way out. And it could do it. So this is a monthly trend line. This blue-red is, quote, reverting to the mean. But it's slow. Every tick is 1 month. So you can see how they overshoot. They overshoot. They overshoot. They're going back to the mean. So there's nothing to it. It's no headlines, no nothing. Forget about the headlines. They failed, not because it's a bad vaccine, because That's what price demanded. Price is truth. That's what literally means. The volume profile, for example, the levels, that's what it means. Look left and see what happened the last time we were here. That's what price is truth. So what happens to Moderna? That's the other one that had a headline. It popped and faded, but not as much, because I think Moderna is a sexier, newer, completely dependent on the vaccine, right? Somebody told me it's modify RNA. That's what Moderna stands for. I don't know if I want to take anything from anybody that wants to modify my RNA. I need to know more about it. Let's see. Lilly also had a headline of sorts. So yeah, pops on the Pfizer and then gives it all back. And look, it's a contention level from, look at this, to the penny to where it is right now. Who else? J&J. So I'd rather bet on Pfizer, J&J, or Lilly because they have a pipeline. So it's not all baskets in one thing. People will say thank you to Pfizer because they were able to save the world, so to speak. And they will remember it, like the Tylenol deal in the olden days, how they fixed their own problem, and nobody forgets it. But for Novavax, it's like all eggs in one basket. You better deliver. Who was it? Sorrento? That was the concern is that they're trying to do too much, and they're probably going to miss on a lot. But if I were to bet on something, I'd bet on this guy. It's a complete lottery ticket, and the sellers have been in charge, but not really, because now they're fighting over it. And so this has potential upside versus trying to chase a Novavax. So anyway, back to Novavax. The summary, I know it took a long time, sorry about that. The summary is the range is tight, even here or here. You consider it the same thing. The range is tight, stuff's going to happen. I don't want to cuss because YouTube will downgrade my video, so I want to be found out there. Nick signing out.